Chapter 6. A Drowning. "We've left Dewi with his auntie," said Mrs. Davis. Dewi had many aunties. Gwyn wondered which one had the pleasure of his company, and if Dewi was to be envied or pitied. The Davises had come to thrash out the problem of the nose, as Mr. Davis put it. It was 6 o'clock, and tea had only just been cleared away, and Gwyn's stomach was already grumbling. They were sitting round the kitchen table, Mr. and Mrs. Davis, Gwyn and his parents, as though they were about to embark on an evening of cards or some other light-hearted entertainment. Not something as serious as Dewi's nose. "The problem as I see it," began Mrs. Davis, "is who's lying. Gary Pritchard, Mervyn Jones and Brian Roberts all say that they think they saw Gwyn throw a stone," said Mr. Davis solemnly. "Now, this is a very serious business." "Very dangerous too," added Mrs. Davis. "That goes without saying, Gladys." Mr. Davis coughed. "Now, the situation is," he paused dramatically, "what's to be done about it?" How bad is the nose?" Mrs. Griffith asked. "Very bad," replied Mrs. Davis. "How bad do you think your nose would be if you'd been hit by a rock?" "Now, wait a minute." Mr. Griffiths entered the conversation with a roar. "First it's a stone, now it's a rock, and we haven't yet established whether anything was thrown. Perhaps Dewi bumped his nose. We haven't heard his explanation." "That's the problem." Mr. Davis banged his fist on the table. "Dewi says he did bump his nose, but the other boys say Gwyn hit him with a stone." "Dewi's frightened of him, see?" Mrs. Davis pointed an accusing finger at Gwyn. "He's afraid of your boy. He's afraid your boy do something worse to him if he tells." "Bloody nonsense!" Mr. Griffiths stood up. His chair scraped on the tiles floor. "Let's hear your side of it, Gwyn." Gwyn looked up. He was unused to having his father defend him. He felt that he could take on any number of Davises now. "I didn't throw a stone," he said. "There." Mr. and Mrs. Davis spoke simultaneously. Mr. Griffiths sat down, and the two sets of parents eyed each other wordlessly. "He's lying, of course, Mr. Davis said at last. "He ought to be punished," added his wife. "The head mistress should be told." "It's a pity they don't thrash kids these days," growled Mr. Davis. This time it was Mr. Griffiths who banged the table. Gwyn got up and began to pace around the room, while the adults all talked at once. He had a tremendous desire to do something dramatic, and the knowledge that he probably could made the temptation almost unbearable. What should he do, though? Box Mrs. Davis' ears from a distance of 3 meters? Pull Mrs. Davis's hair? The possibilities were endless, and then he remembered Nine's warning. He must not abuse his power. It must be used only when there was something that he truly needed to do.